I didn't forget.
Where is it?
Right there.
Okay. No, you'll click on it.
Or I can do it if you want me to. I can. Well, what I'll do, what I would do is open it up and then maximize the screen and then launch it so it's full screen. So it's full screen up here. You want me to do it for you? When you present it? I'll watch. I'll watch when I see you coming up. I'll settle in.
All right, we're going to get started. It's 5:03, a few minutes late. Welcome to our City Council meeting tonight. For our invocation, we have Reverend Joyce DeTony Hill, I hope I said that right, with the Shepherd of the Hills United Methodist Church to give us our invocation.
Since it is, I've been here for 4 weeks in this community, my first time here. Where do we pray?
Right where you are.
Right here. All right.
Just into that mic.
Very good. Let us pray. Our Father God, I thank you this afternoon for this meeting in which we are entrusted with the welfare of this community. As we gather together, give these leaders the freedom to speak the truth boldly and with kindness. Give them patience to listen openly. Give them confidence to discover and explore new possibilities. Give them wisdom to discern what is right and good and just. And let this meeting today be filled with your guidance and your knowledge and understanding, as well as meaningful discussions that everyone will benefit from. We thank them for their commitment to this community this day. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend, and welcome to our community. We hope you'll feel welcome here. Danielle, you want to lead us in the pledge?
Everyone, please rise. Repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I need to excuse Councilwoman Tanner. She is out of town, and Councilman MacArthur had a family emergency, so he is not here with us tonight either, so they need to be excused. And we have a couple of pre-agenda items. First, we have Miss St. George royalty here. If you saw the tiaras and sashes, if they want to come up to the microphone and introduce themselves.
Hi, so I'm Brindley Hartshorn. I'm your 2022 Miss St. George, and I will let my royalty introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Josie Young, and I'm the first attendant.
Hi, I'm Parks Erb, and I'm the second attendant.
Hi, I'm Sarah Lyman, and I'm Miss Congeniality.
Will you tell us what schools you all go to?
So I go to Desert Hills.
Me and Parks both go to Dixie.
And then I go to Snow Canyon.
All right, we have a good representation. Congratulations to you all. Yes, you can give them a round of applause. And I'm going to come down and we're going to take a picture. David, will you get a picture? Okay. They'll be representing us in the parades and
We're so excited.
all kinds of things
We're
throughout
super excited.
the city. Thank you,
Thank
girls. Great job. Our other pre-agenda item is our yearly report from IHC, or St. George Regional Medical Center. Or no, St. George Regional Hospital. You know, it's your guys' fault. We have Mitch Cloward here, Terry Draper, and we have Cindy is chairman of the board. Okay. And so I don't know who's speaking, but you're welcome to come up. Cindy Gilbert, sorry.
This is just an opportunity to annually provide you with an update on healthcare and our hospital. And I just always like to start by saying I can't think of many gifts greater in life than our health. And so I really want to encourage all of us to make a commitment to take care of ourselves. Life is stressful. There are a lot of pressures, and it's really important that we take care of ourselves, because although we're there 24/7, we really don't want to see you at the hospital. So take care of yourselves. Cindy's going to provide our annual update, so I just wanted to provide a little background behind Cindy Gilbert. It's a pleasure for me to work with her, but she's an attorney. She's legal counsel for Utah Iron Mine, the mine west of Cedar City. She's legal counsel for Gilbert Development, Crusher Rental and Sales, and then she and her husband Steve own Diamond G Rodeos, where they breed and clone rodeo bucking bulls. So that's a nice segue into the last
And
part.
she flanks them, and she's
She
behind the
does.
chutes.
She was the first female flank person in the PRCA, and she's flanked over 20,000 animals. And then the second piece of that is she holds a high mark bull ride arena record for the NFR. So I don't mess with her, and
I wouldn't either.
it's a pleasure to work with her. So she'll share our annual update. Thank you.
Thanks, Mitch.
No, but I have changed on the plane, going from court to bucking. So I've done it all and lost rings on extension cords. I've learned the hard way, but I had never been to a rodeo before I married my husband. So you bloom where you're planted. But I am grateful to be here. The nice part about being involved with Intermountain Healthcare, we just got news today that on the Fox News website, it shows us as the second best regional hospital in Utah, and U.S. News and World Report just granted us with one of the top regional hospitals in the United States. So we have worked so hard to create an environment for health, and then if you don't have health, to go to. I am very grateful that in my entire life, in the 26 years I've worked with Intermountain Healthcare, I've never spent a night in the hospital. So by taking care of yourself, and that's what we're here for, is to have those specialties. We have 15 different specialties that were highlighted in those reports, and we're very grateful to be part of that. Part of our report is the fact that over the last year, we have contributed more than $23 million in charity care. That's not bad debt, but charity care, over 20,000 different visits to the hospital. And I'm sure as you've watched your police, mental health, children, you name it, those kind of contributions to the community make a big difference. And as we have grown in leaps and bounds, we, without a hospital, we would not have the growth and the quality of growth that we have. So just a little background. Some of you may already know this, but Dave Jepson, who passed away in April, worked with, at the time, Commissioner Webb between 1970 and 80, which was 1976, with a handshake and a promise to bring health care to Southern Utah when the LDS Church gave 15 hospitals, including Dixie Regional Medical Center. I don't know, what was it? Was it Dixie Hospital?
St. George, was it Pioneer or something?
It's gone through several iterations,
Yeah.
and so and everybody keeps calling it different names. But anyway, we were very grateful to have that opportunity. And after you watch that, and I think this kind gentleman is going to make sure I don't mess up the computer. He told me what to do, and I went, "Could you please do it?"
In 1976, there was an amazing act. That act was a handshake between two great individuals who had a lot of integrity. That act was performed quietly and without ceremony. Each individual represented their organization in a way that would shape the future of healthcare. And no one could have known that it was a handshake and a promise that would define healthcare for a region.
In the early part of 1976, we'd been just about a year when Intermountain Healthcare started. I was told that an investor-owned company had come down and been talking to the county commissioners here. And when I came down, I said, "I understand you guys are thinking about selling the hospital." He said, we don't ever go through another major hospital project like we've just been through. It's just drainage. We need to build a new prison. We've got some streets and bridges that need to be repaired. And this other company has offered us several $1 million. And we thought we ought to come down and just see what you'd be willing to do with us, and whether or not you'd be an option we ought to look at too. Told them about our mission statement, how we felt about the employees and how we valued them, and how determined we were to keep costs as low as possible and really work hard on quality and try to make this system really become one of great reputation. And so that's what I bring to you. And this is probably going to be bad news for you, but let me just ask you, do you have any debt on this hospital you've just built? And they said, yes, we've got a bond we've got to pay off. All I can offer you is everything that you have put into the hospital, including the unpaid debt. We'll take the balance sheet for the hospital alone. We will not take the balance sheet. Can't for what you're needing for a prison or bridges. But I thought that's the end of that conversation. And then finally I got a call not too many days later, and they said, we thought over what you've shared with us, and we want you to come. But if you're going to do it, they've got to have some assurances. And Murray Webb said, how do we know that you're not going to come down here and just be a laid-back organization? And I said, well, I can give you every assurance that we'll do what's needed here for the community. Bend over backwards to meet those needs. When I came down, Murray said, are you willing to promise me, Mr. Jepson, that you'll expand the services, you'll keep the quality, and keep the cost as low as possible? And I said, absolutely. He stopped and said, you just acquired a hospital. And I said, that's great. And we'll keep the promises.
Now here we are, half century later, and we have world-class healthcare. We have lived true to the promise of becoming a model healthcare organization. Independent national media like U.S. News and World Report and Newsweek rank St. George at the top.
At St. George Regional Hospital, we have really grown a very comprehensive, robust cardiovascular program here. This includes what's termed structural heart. Essentially what that is what was traditionally reserved for open heart surgeries. Many of these patients now can have much more minimally invasive approaches. Other metrics that we look at when we're measuring our success of how well we're taking care of our patients in the community is how often you're having to come back into the hospital. So we look at readmission rates. And in each one of these categories, we're well below the national average for readmission rates. When somebody comes into the hospital, we typically have a short period of time to actually get into their heart. We're considerably and significantly better at doing that as far as the time to door to balloon time than the rest of the country when you look at the national averages.
Here in Southern Utah, we're doing amazing things with stroke. We have excellent stroke care here at St. George Regional Hospital. We are a Joint Commission certified primary stroke center. Once again, the American Heart Association has recognized us for top stroke care. In stroke care, time is brain. When a patient comes to our hospital, we worked really hard to make sure that they get the treatment they need quickly. We are well below the goal times for imaging and treatment for stroke care, and we provide that care extremely quickly. At our hospital, we have capabilities to care for stroke patients that aren't available at other hospitals in the area. If I had a family member who had a stroke, this is where I'd want them to come.
In neurosurgery, we offer amazing care for our brain and spine patients. With neuro-oncology, we have been the first center to offer intraoperative MRI so that we can actually have an MRI scan of the patient's brain, especially with tumors, during surgery. We also are the only center that uses gliolin, which is immunofluorescence, where I'm able to see tumor tissue versus brain tissue while I'm doing the operation. And that allows me to be more successful in actually removing the brain tumor, which improves patient outcomes. We're also a spine center of excellence for cervical and lumbar spine surgery, and have been for the last 6 years. We received multiple national awards, and I'm proud to be part of a team that offers the very best in brain and spine care.
The Women and Newborn Program at St. George Regional Hospital offers comprehensive services, including a 24/7 pediatric lifeline service, a 24/7 neonatal lifeline service, a Simply birthing option for women who want to have a low intervention delivery, and a pediatric hospitalist team that's available 24/7 to take care of children in the hospital. This team has led to really great outcomes, including a C-section rate lower than the national average, early elective delivery rates lower than the national average, which decreases the likelihood that a baby might end up in the neonatal intensive care unit. Additionally, we have an extremely low central line infection rate, with only one central line infection in the last 11 years. We couldn't do anything we do without the incredible people working here. We don't do this for us, we do this for you. We do this for our community. We do this for our families.
Young people entering the field of medicine today see and do amazing things. We're a national leader in precision genomics right here from St. George, Utah. It's remarkable to consider all that's evolved from a handshake and a promise.
Someday, if I'm ever put on the witness stand, by Murray Webb or any of his ancestry, I'm going to have no trouble at all saying we more than kept the promise.
As you can tell, we have grown a lot in the last 25 years, and I'm very grateful to be part of that growth. Without St. George City, it would never have happened. So we appreciate your support always, and like I say, may you never use the facility, but...
Good afternoon, and welcome to the webinar. This informational...
I what?
Do you want to go to that webinar?
Thank you. Anyway, we appreciate your support. Do you have any questions, anything we can answer, or thank you for letting us come?
Thank you, Cindy. We appreciate having such a world-class hospital here in our city. It's unfortunately I'm not like you. I've had to be there a few times.
Well,
but I'm grateful it's there.
They forget what happened south of Provo, and to have this gem here when you need that is just amazing. So that's been always my care, is to get the facilities that we need, so that when we do need them, they are here and we don't have to go somewhere else. So thank you for the partnership that we've had with you, and hopefully it'll continue for a long time to come.
Thank you. Adam, is there any changes to our agenda?
No changes.
Okay, so public comments, and I only have one, and you have to be a St. George resident and only 3 minutes, but you can't speak on anything related that is a pending issue or likely to be on a future agenda. And so, Mr. Cooper, you had taxes. If you'll come back on August 18th when we have our public hearing only on taxes, then you're welcome to speak then. And there was no other slips, was there? Okay, so then we're going to go to the consent calendar.
All right, Council, we've got just a few items on the consent calendar this week. If you have any questions on any of these items, if you'd like to pull these off for individual consideration, we're happy to do that. Otherwise, staff would recommend approval as presented.
Adam, I was just curious on the, I think it's on C. Let's see. Yeah. Or do we know when we're planning on starting that? Do we have any idea? Jay?
We'll have Jay come comment on that. Jay, this is the PSA with Rosenberg for the design and engineering of the George Washington Boulevard bridge structure.
I was just curious, Jay. I got a lot of questions on when this road's going to be underway. Just when the road is going to be underway. Do we have a timeline on it yet? I know it used to be a lot further down on the DTEC list, and it's been bumped up.
This contract is for the design of the portion of the road from where it ends now over to where the bridge will start.
Right.
We're working on getting a proposal from a different consultant on the bridge. The design should take place this year and probably next year, but I think anything beyond that would be, you know, there's going to be some environmental concerns. There's some funding issues, I know, with the transportation infrastructure bill in Congress that there's going to be some things that have to be dealt with that. So the project funding is going to be an issue when it comes to the bridge construction also. So our goal is to have it built as soon as possible. If I had to guess, probably 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
Adam may want to weigh in on that a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I was just curious if you had a guess. It's just one that people ask about all the time.
You know, the good news is that we have the right of way, so that is a big plus in the right direction. So now it's just a matter of getting it designed and getting it built.
Thank you.
Any other questions you have on the consent calendar? If not, I'm ready for a motion.
Motion to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Motion by Jimmy, seconded by Danielle. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Council. Chief Whitehead is going to present item number 3.
Good evening. Item number 3 is consider approval of a resolution entering into an interlocal agreement with the county for the 2022 Burn Justice Assistance Grant Program Award. We call it the JAG, and I'm going to abbreviate the rest of it because it's a lot easier to say. The St. George Police Department is applying to receive a 2022 grant, JAG grant, for the amount of $28,217. This will be used to supplement funding to purchase a 3D dimensional scanner for our department. The scanning machine will help with our accident reconstruction and also our investigations. And the other part of this would go to help fund personal first aid kits for our officers, both new and updating the ones that we currently have. So.
Is this piece of equipment the one that sometimes you have to wait to come from northern Utah down here when you have to recreate a scene?
Yeah, so the closest one they have right now is in Richfield, and oftentimes when we have these critical events, we have to wait several hours. The old day, we used to have to do hand measurements, and it would take hours and hours of measuring, and so these are just really slick, and typically it's worthwhile to have it brought down, but now with our own here in Washington County, it would just really streamline our investigations.
And they'll be shared with the county, right?
Yes, it'll actually be shared with all of the agencies. There'll be 4 of us that are splitting the cost, the county, St. George, Washington, and Hurricane, but we'll make that available to all agencies in the county to be able to help them if they need it.
We discussed this a little bit in some of your budget presentations earlier in the year, I remember.
Yes.
So, good.
It'll be a great tool.
Good.
Any other questions for Chief? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to consider approval of the resolution. No, I'll make a motion to approve a resolution entering into an interlocal agreement with the county for the 2022 Burn Justice Assistant Grant Program Award.
Second. Motion by Natalie, seconded by Danielle. All in favor, starting with Natalie.
Natalie Larson, aye.
Jimmy Hughes, aye.
Danielle Larkin, aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay. Item number 4 is to consider approval of an ordinance changing the general plan future land use map from open space to commercial on approximately 2.45 acres located on Bluff Street, just north of 676 South Bluff Street, for a project to be known as Car Lot Medical Office Condominium. So this is the aerial. As you can see, it's on the west side of Bluff Street, in between 600 and 700 North. There's a pretty prominent scar on this property. At this one, this is showing the zoning, which is open space, but I just wanted to point out that the applicant does own this entire lot, but he's only asking to change the zone for the area that's been disturbed, which is starting at the scar going towards Bluff Street. The land use map is also open space with a little bit of commercial, and that's what the applicant is wanting to do, is extend the commercial all the way into this area that's disturbed. That's what he wants to do. We did present this to the Planning Commission. They did recommend approval. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
We did receive one letter in our packet that said somebody couldn't access their property.
Yeah, there were a couple comments, I believe, talking about access. I believe what happened when make sure I get the right state, UDOT was widening Bluff Street. There was discussion of where all of these properties would have access. They would like to have them all on 600, but that might not happen due to the way the slope is, because they can't develop on anything that's over 40%. So if it's not practical to put in their entrance here, UDOT will have to grant them an entrance at some place. I did talk to engineering about this. They told us that they would work with the applicant. I think there's another driveway right here. They would work with them on that location, or if they could get the 600 South, that would be preferable. And that kind of goes for all of the other properties. If they wanted to develop here and they can develop, they would basically work with UDOT and our engineering department to make sure those accesses are safe and effective.
Other questions for Carol? If there are no other questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the ordinance changing the general plan future land use map from open space to commercial on 2.45 acres located on Bluff Street, just north of 676 South Bluff Street, for the project to be known as Car Lot Medical Office Condominium, which will be interesting.
Second.
I know, it's a strange name. Motion by Jimmy, seconded by Natalie. All in favor, starting with Danielle.
Danielle Larkin, aye.
Jimmy Hughes, aye.
Natalie Larson, aye.
Motion carries unanimous.
Okay, the next item is the continuation of a zone change amendment, or a zone change that we had presented at the last city council meeting. It was called 300 West Mixed Use on the corner of St. George Boulevard and 300 West, as shown here. The applicant has redrawn up their plans. You should have gotten the drawings in your packet. Just a quick overview here of the one commercial building with residential on the 2nd through 5th floors. So this is what was presented the last time. It was 69 feet, 5 inches with these architectural features up here. And this is the updated plan. Basically, the applicant has been able to shave off 12 feet on this, has reduced the overall height to 57 feet 6 inches. Here's some aerials of that, or some elevations. This is the two structures side by side, kind of looking at them. And then I'm just going to go through a series of elevations here. We see the before and after on this one. And then this one, the applicant did provide some, I guess, comparisons to some of the other heights in St. George that he provided this slide for us. But this is the west and the south elevation. And then we've got the west and west together. We don't have that top part. And then this is the south and south, this before and after on this. This slide is easy to see. The architectural features that they did is they do have this overhang. So instead of going up taller, they have this overhang, and they'll have quite a bit of it hanging over. So they'll have some decorative wood on the underside of that. And then here we are with the south and the west comparison of the two different elevations. And then we've got the north and the east with the north and the east. So this is the updated perspective. Well, this is the original perspective. So this is you're on 300 West. You're looking towards the west. So that's kind of before and that's after. And then the next perspective is on St. George Boulevard. This side over here is the Walgreens side. You're looking at it before and after the updated. So if you have any questions regarding this change or any other questions with this case, I'd be happy to answer them. And believe the applicant is here too. Yeah, he's here.
Questions for Carol or Wes?
I don't know if they have a question. So basically, we just took off all that kind of decorations from the top, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty
just
much.
Looks like
It's still 5 stories. So yeah, the building's the same. It's just instead of going up, it's kind of going out a little bit on the decoration or on the features.
Except for they added the wood, right? So it's like coming out.
Yeah, it's extending out horizontally over the top instead of going up.
Yeah.
Is what they did.
I asked was the second on the motion for this to be tabled because it was a big packet. I didn't feel like I gave it fair time to go all the way through last week, and so I like to drive. It's planning commission in me. I like to drive and look, and then I went back to the master plan that we've been working on for the downtown area, and I just feel like this building does not fit this area. I think it's a corridor area for the historic district and the art district, and I think the original building was beautiful architecturally. I just don't think it has the downtown feel to it, and the height's excessive. It's been interesting as I've got comments this last week for and against that people think we do have a lively downtown. When the RFP came out, they were hardly interested in what was going to go in there for entertainment, for fun, because downtown really does belong to everybody, they feel like. I mean, we look at Town Square, we can't keep the grass down because it is a gathering spot. So I don't know that a apartment building, even if it's beautiful and high-end, is what you contribute to the lively aspect of that. I think it's, why people are drawn down there is for the arts and entertainment and walkability.
You have anything, Jenny?
Processing.
I'll share. I personally really like this building for this corner. I think it's a great opportunity for us to add density without it being, excessive. I suppose that means, we just have different opinions on what height is, because this to me isn't too high. I wouldn't want to see downtown get much higher than this. I think this is about the average of what we're seeing. This feels like a good density and opportunity to add a different product, you know, downtown. I live downtown, and I love that we're mixing different products together, that we're having some density and some single family and some row townhomes, and that we're really getting a great mix of business and residential. And it feels like we're really, it's tricky because I know that we all have like nostalgia for the past. We all do. When the hospital showed that picture of down St. George Boulevard, you know, that was fun to see all the old signs. But the reality is things grow old. We're always moving forward and changing. And this, for me, at least, is a great addition. The thing that's so great about this type of addition is each one of those apartments uses about 0.1 to 0.15 acre feet of water a year compared to a single family home. So while we always will have a lot of single family homes, and that's one of the products that a lot of people love, it's nice to offer a different product for a different demographic. And so that's what I'm feeling. And I personally really like the design. I even like what you did with the wood underneath. I think that those will actually feel more decorative in real life. It's sometimes hard to see the reality on these drawn up plans, but I like the different dimensions that you put on it. I think it'll look really nice.
I guess my approach is a little bit different. I'm trying to look at it not necessarily in the past, but way into the future, and what are we going to have when we're done if we don't have our plan in place. So I went back to the plan again because I knew this could come up somewhere in our discussion, and from the plan not yet approved, under preserve the bluff views. So what I went back to and said, hey, what are we worried about downtown? What are we trying to accomplish? And one of our biggest things in southern Utah is our surrounding landscape. And so that was come out in our plan under preserve the bluff views. A location nestled beneath the desert bluffs is an asset in downtown. Views of bluff features retain this connection to nature and history. A, protect the bluffs from additional scarring through the hillside ordinance while still allowing for trail access, and identify in key scenic view corridors and update downtown zoning to protect those views. So my concern has been, as we looked at this project, as we start to move out from that core downtown, is that, you know, do we know if this will? Now, I took some time and drove around the area right there, sat in the parking lot of Metcalf's and looked that way, tried to go down the boulevard and look that way, try to imagine what we're trying to do here. And I don't, there's a really nice building across the street behind the Brent's Interiors that's I don't know how tall that building is, but it looks really nice. I think it's 3 stories, maybe a little bit smaller than this one. Looks really nice. I think you can look at that building and say we've put some additional density in there, and it's not going to be obtrusive as far as the view. The other thing, I still do worry into the future about the density. And I shared this with the applicant. You know, we've approved some of the highest density in the state of Utah on Tech Ridge, which right now spills out right there, or will spill out on 100 South, a lot of that access. So what does that look like 30 years from now when that's all done? Again, some of the highest density in the state. So I don't think we're saying no to high density, and we've tried some of these projects downtown, and I think they're working really well. My question is, if we don't have a coherent plan, once this one comes in, what's the next one? And if we're going to do 50, 60, 70 feet, you know, what's 80, what's 90? We have to look at that and know what we're doing. So I'm not comfortable. I mean, I get what we've done here. I mean, we've just taken off the architectural pillar from the top, which I'm not, you know, I guess I'm saying I could have said, well, we can cut 10 feet off right there, cutting those fancy things. But I think that's important downtown. That's going to be important to maybe some of the staff, the architectural appeal of that building. You know, does that open up the door to say, hey, you know, we're okay with a little higher density. We don't care what the top looks like. again, that's not my department. I'm just worried about all those things, you know, and that's what causes me concern as we look into the future, not necessarily what we're dealing with from the past, which we know we want to preserve some of the stuff from the past, but there's some really nice buildings. Like I say, that Brent's Interior building, that was a great upgrade for that corner. The building behind it, I'm not sure what's in there, but it's a 3-story building, a little higher density. It looks great. Yeah, that's right. There's some apartments and some commercial on the bottom, some flooring company. Yeah, there you go. That's what I would have liked to see here. Again, what my hope is that the downtown plan will give some direction so that these projects can come in and there's not a lot of concern and pushback from the council. They know what they're dealing with, and I just don't feel like we're there yet. And once you put this over there, which is, there's a lot of, when you start talking about the county building and so forth, there's a lot of elevation change from the boulevard that way, and you can drive around down there and see what I'm talking about. Even though those buildings may be a little higher, they seem to fit where they're at because of that elevation change. Here on the boulevard, you're going to be on the boulevard, and you're going to be a little closer to what we have at the Avenir or that project. So that's my concern. I mean, I like the product itself. I mean, look, we've done a few of those down there with Jewel Plaza and City View.
So would you guys be comfortable if it was mixed use with 3 stories or 2 stories, but not mixed use with 4 stories?
We have an ordinance in place. If it met the ordinance, I don't think again, it meets the ordinance, but we still want it to have some appeal. I mean, I like the first rendering much better, and of course, again, that's not my big strength, but I can look at a picture and say, oof, you know. I'm not sure I'm looking into the future.
Yeah, Wes, you can come up.
John, is it 50 downtown?
I think on the mixed use, it's actually 55. And so anything above that is conditional use. So it's not that we don't meet the ordinance, it's a conditional use on it. And so it's 2 feet over before it was, the building actually came down 2 or 3 feet in addition to what was on top. But I drove around and I took to heart kind of what you said last time as, hey, is this going to be just a big corridor? And you look around there, Smith's isn't going anywhere, Walgreens isn't going anywhere, Brent's Interiors isn't going anywhere, Ron Metcalf, they're not going anywhere. And you go along the building, there's 2 blocks of nobody going anywhere to create the concrete, I think, wall or whatever that you called it last time that was quoted in the paper. So I think if anywhere on the boulevard, if you don't want it to have a big concrete wall, this would be a good spot for it. I mean, you look at other places that may be developed, the city's piece across the street from City View and from the Avenir. I mean, if that's going to be an issue that it creates a concrete wall, that would probably not be a good place to have mixed use that goes up along the, setback close to the street. We've pushed this building back. If you look on this, we've had it about 4 to 6 feet of sidewalk and put some landscape in the front to kind of soften that up a little bit. And if it was 2 feet shorter, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. But the ordinance makes us put 14 feet on the ground floor, which isn't necessary. That's just what it is. If we could get a variance on that, it would come down to 55 and would fit. But in looking at buildings also downtown, I mean, you go back to the time of Dan MacArthur. There were buildings that were 55 to 60 feet approved all over downtown. That's 20 or 30 years. We're talking within the range of where those buildings 20 or 30 years ago were approved in lots of places of downtown. So it's not that this is such a progressive thought to go to 57 feet. It's in line with what's been approved for 20 or 30 years within the city.
I think that's the difficult part, is because we are in the middle of the master plan and it's a 40-year plan, and to throw this building in and say, like Jimmy said, like, okay, this is what the standard's going to be, does not seem appropriate for what has been going on so far with this.
Sure.
And also, I have to agree with his point about Tech Ridge. I mean, that's going to be a lot of density. It's going to file down Old Airport Road onto that intersection.
Well, it's going to be further down a block.
It's still going to come through that intersection.
Sure.
It's still all going to be a piece of that.
But both of those may never happen, right? The downtown plan that we're going through may or may not happen. It may or may not get approved. I mean, there's discussion that you may be looking for a new consultant Tech Ridge may or may not happen, right? There's lots of things that may or may not happen.
And I don't think it's appropriate to, I don't know why you'd say Tech Ridge is not happening. I don't think that's fair to them.
Well, it may happen in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. So are you going to put everything on hold until Tech Ridge sees it all the way through?
Well, I'm just saying, but in the last 2 years, we've seen things develop that were approved 20 years ago, that people are appalled that that went through back then. So for me, I get, right now at this point, this decision today, I don't think that building fits that space. I think, we have a lot of areas like we've approved, at least Planning Commission approved, a lot of high density on South Bluff Street behind like Zion Motors and all of that, that it fits that place magically. I look at Desert Color that continues to grow and flourish. So I think we're nobody's saying we're opposed to growth or we don't like high density or we don't like apartments. I just feel like this building does not fit this area.
Because of the height or the density? I'm trying to understand.
Or a little bit of both.
You might have both. So you could do a really nice building there, 40 units. You lose a
It could
story.
be. Yeah, we would
And-
lose.
and
And so back to Danielle's point, I mean, you take off those 13 units, which we already have some water allocated for, power utilities, and then you reassess them somewhere else. 13 units out in the field is going to be more on traffic, less on a possible rentals, which we have a very high need for. And then you take into consider water, landscaping, land use.
And that's an interesting point that we're struggling with right now is how much of what do we say, whatever remaining water there is, which that's still this nebulous number as far as I'm concerned, is where are we going to allocate that to? All high density? Or do we still want to be able to say the American dream, of having a little home with a little lot is still available? How much
Sure.
do we do what? Or commercial? I mean, we have to look at that.
For all of them, right? And we already have water allocated here. That's what I'm saying. We've got 2 water connections already in use.
Sure.
And so,
That's just my concern where again, I may be wrong in 30 years from now and that's all going to be a moot point, but right now we're just saying, hey, let's put this over here. Obviously, it's going to be the tallest thing around in that general vicinity, and is that going to fit? I mean, I think that's a legitimate question that should be asked. Is that going to fit? And at the same time, trying to represent some of the sentiment of a lot of the feedback that we're getting from residents about what's been going on downtown, and are they okay with it or not? I mean, we're trying to listen to all those voices and say, is there a happy medium that we can come to there? That's really what this is about.
and what is
That's
the
what I'm trying to-
feedback you're getting from residents downtown?
Some of both, everything. Yeah, all
I think
over
it's
the board.
50-50.
Yeah, so there you are. We're trying to, so then that's where I come up and say, a 40-unit building looks really good right there maybe. And it doesn't give everybody the feeling that we're saying, we don't want anything else downtown unless it's at least 4 or 5 stories.
But I think stories versus height are 2 different conversations.
Right, but
Right, we've got like the Village Bank.
Your architecture of your building changes dramatically if you try to fit the height in and say I want 5 stories, because they do change, because what it is, it's getting more units, which goes to Danielle's point. Yeah, more units on that same piece of property is a more efficient use of the water. I get that.
Sure.
I'm not arguing that point. I'm just saying, where is the balance? And I don't think we know that answer, and I'm super uncomfortable saying that just because we don't know what's going to happen on Tech Ridge or even the Bluff Street project. We approved some higher density there and height because it fits against the hill. They're back up against the hill there. You're not going to notice that as much. You're not going to feel that height difference as you will, in my opinion, as I drive around there just today, in fact, again, and yesterday, and say, okay, what's this going to feel like? I don't. It's hard to imagine that, but
It is
I
hard,
try.
especially on paper.
Right, sure. So that's, I'm not completely disagreeing with some of what's being said. I'm just saying there's a happy medium in there, in my mind, and especially where we still don't have what we're charged to do in this plan that may or may not be approved to preserve the view corridor. Have we looked at that and said, what does that mean? I don't think we have. And once this is there, that'll obviously be out of the view corridor for the people going south for some distance. I mean, you can...
Going south or going
people
west?
south of the building.
Oh.
Yeah, is that important? I don't know. Maybe it's not. Maybe that's not. but we haven't. If we had this plan adopted today, then that would be what we would have figured out, is where is the zoning that will allow height variances? And right now, it's kind of in general, and that's why you're in this position trying to figure out what the heck we want, which it's
And
not,
you don't know what you want,
It's not
so it's tough,
codified.
yeah.
It's not codified. I get that. So then we get to make the hard decision, which right now I'm saying I'm not comfortable doing this. That's all I'm saying.
Sure.
So Wes, you're in a hard position because, I mean, obviously right now you're dealing with 3 people talking to you about their subjective perspective.
Sure.
On this at the moment, because I am comfortable with it. I don't think it's too high. I think it would be a nice addition to that corner. I do think that you have a lot of benefit as to what's south of you. You've got the courthouse and the big parking lot. I don't see it as being blocking anybody's view in any way. Even standing on the corner across any of the streets, I just don't think. I think you're still easily going to be able to see the Black Mountain. So that's my perspective, and I would vote for it. I think it's a great project, but we have only 3 of us here tonight, so.
And it seems like we may need some additional discussion.
Yeah.
So if it's all right, can we table it and have additional discussion and see, or what do you recommend, Mayor?
Well, it's yeah, we can table it, or I can call for a vote, and I think you can see where that's going to go.
Yeah.
It sounds like it might.
Yeah, we're fine to have further discussion on it. The challenge is, I mean, we have
You take
the
2 feet
ordinance
off
and the
of
code
that,
today.
you don't
Yeah.
have, we don't have to have this discussion, you know?
No worries. We can table it for a while and go back and then maybe have some additional discussion, maybe a work meeting, and look at some other options and see what's available there. I think anything would be better than what's there now, but we'll see.
So
what's the difference between that and denying the application? What does that do to you?
I think if it's
A
denied,
year.
I probably have to wait a year. Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm assuming it's going to take a substantial change. Does that,
We'll have to go back and look at it and see. I mean, it's
does a substantial change still make you wait a year?
Only
on
if
our
only if
end?
We'd already approved it.
John?
It's 1 year unless there's a substantial change.
And what would a substantial change?
It doesn't address this specifically, but talks about different zone, substantial decrease in density. It really leaves the discretion to community development director, actually.
So if there was a substantial decrease in density, which would be losing a story, that would be a substantial change.
I think we can make that argument.
See, so what I don't want to do, Wes, is give you some false hope from at least my perspective. I think that's kind of what we did with the last table. So tabling it, to me, doesn't give you the right message.
I think I got the message. It gives me a chance, though, to come back in less than a year, right?
But I
and
would
make
say,
some
to be fair, that's
revisions,
because-
and we don't have to pay for all the applications.
We have 2 council people who aren't here, so I wouldn't say that's not giving him the right message, because we can't speak for them.
Yeah,
We're okay to have it tabled, and we can look at revising it and look at the numbers and talk to the property owner and see what
Yeah.
our options are.
Because after the meeting last time, I just felt like, this is probably going to be, because this is what I imagined we were going to see, is just a pancaked building, which, I don't know, just doesn't, in my, expert design knowledge, which is not.
I like your building, Wes.
Honestly, I actually like it,
Well,
because
I
if you're looking at it from the ground, you see all the wood highlights coming up and
Yeah.
extending over, but everyone's got a
and
different
maybe
opinion.
when it's done, again, we're just looking at pictures here.
Yeah.
I'm not all knowing and all seeing. I'm just trying to imagine.
Yeah, no worries.
Into
We're
the future.
happy to make some revisions and bring it to staff before we come to city council again.
So motion to table item, are we on item 5?
Yeah.
Motion to table item 5 until time indefinite. Okay.
Till indefinite, infinity.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Are you guys okay with that?
I mean, what if it takes a year for him to come back?
Then it takes a year, but do you
It
really
doesn't
want to
matter.
make him go through the whole application and everything, the process again? I mean,
It's not what I want, but I'm just trying to make sure that Wes understands.
I understand.
Again, I didn't want to get you down this road like this with false hope.
Sure.
And again,
Nope, I understand.
yeah.
I would just note that, any motion in order to pass has got to have all three of you, and we're kind of debating the, if no motion passes, I think, and Tanya, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that the application would be considered denied for lack of a motion to advance it. That's, I think, where we're at. We could maybe take a brief recess and consider that if the council doesn't feel like you can get to a unanimous decision, just so we can make sure we, logistically, we understand and we can communicate to the applicant what the effect of that would be. If you feel like you can reach a decision, whatever that decision is, then we don't have to discuss that. But just something to consider.
I think it's fair to Wes to table it so that the other council people can share.
I'm okay with that. I think I've been pretty clear, and that Wes is a smart guy, so he understands. And again, this is really in the interest of not giving you, saying, oh, hey,
Sure.
here you go.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah.
So are you making a second, Jimmy?
I'll go ahead and second the motion.
Motion by Danielle to table indefinitely. Second by Jimmy. All in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries.
Okay, thanks.
The drama.
So appointments to boards. I do have an appointment to appoint Bonnie Pendleton to the Shade Tree Board. I will take a motion on that. And
So moved.
motion by Jimmy, seconded by Natalie. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Reports. Natalie, you have anything?
I went to my first bench special events meeting, and it was pretty good. There's a lot of great things coming this fall.
Yes, there is. Jimmy, anything?
Nope, I have nothing.
Danielle?
Yeah, Mayor, I just wanted to remind everyone that the farmers market is starting this Saturday from 8 to noon at Vernon Wortham Park. They're really excited. I asked them for a list of their vendors. They used to have like maybe 15 to 20 vendors. They have 34 artists, 12 bakers, 5 farmers, and 9 food trucks. They have 60 vendors. It's going to be awesome.
That's awesome.
So everybody come out. It's going to be, everything from woodworking to there's meat and cheeses from the Finney Farm and flowers and just everything. It'll be really fun.
What time is that?
It's from 8 to noon on Saturday at Vernon Wortham.
Okay. I had a couple of board meetings this week. The first one was flood control, and I think it's interesting that people don't know that we have a flood control board and it's countywide, and sometimes we get huge floods, sometimes we get nothing for years, but they are always doing projects to mitigate for floods. And one point they brought up that I thought was really interesting, that board has been created for 10 years, and they've spent $10 million to get $44 million worth of projects done because of FEMA kicking in and the Natural Resources Conservation Services. So,
And what did Mayor Rosenberg say when he said that? Because we do such quality work. Washington, St. George, and Santa Clara, that they know when they come to this area, they put out a bid, it's going to be done correctly and quality, so they're always willing to work
yep,
with that
they're
group.
always willing to help. So we have really gotten the use of our money out of the flood control. And then I had a board meeting with the Washington County Water Conservancy District last night, and the turf buyback is going to begin in October. And what they're proposed, so it's a match. So 50% will come from the state, 50% from the Water Conservancy District. It'll be $1.25 per square feet. And what they're hoping is with the $6 million, so $3 million from the state, $3 million from the Water Conservancy District, they have done the math, and that will remove 4.8 million square feet of sod, if people are interested in that. And by removing that much sod, it'll end up saving 134 million gallons of water a year in perpetuity. So that is a big water savings if if people want to take advantage of that. And it's going to be first come, first serve. And so as soon as the Water District starts putting out their campaign for that, we will make sure that our residents know so that they can get first in line and take advantage of that. So that's all I have. Any need for a closed session? No. Okay, then with that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Danielle, seconded by Jimmy. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you.